Time now for the voice of the land on the Big Play Network with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Always Positive Jay.
How important do you think that win in Baltimore was for the confidence of this team? I know that, Deshaun Watson was at the helm that game, but knowing that they are the number one seed in the AFC, they're, everybody's odds-on favorite. San Francisco on the other side, a rematch of the regular season matchup just a couple of weeks ago. But how much confidence do you think that breeds in that locker room with this team that they were able to go on the road, where they struggled on the road this season, but one of the best teams in the NFL, they went on the road and they were able to beat them?
I think it gives them a lot of confidence because they know now that we've beaten all the top. They've beaten all the top teams. So the only team that can really beat them now is themselves. You know what I mean? So I would just I know they're probably just getting focused up and locking in, and they just got to keep doing what they're doing. Don't fix it if it ain't broke. You know what I mean? Don't go into the playoffs trying to run a whole new offense. Just keep pounding. You know what I mean?
Jay, your experience at the game, because I was locked in a studio somewhere cutting all the highlights, so I could hear a little bit of the stadium and I peeked my head outside, but because I knew it was on fire down there on the lakefront. But Jay, in your section, I'm sure you've talked to a bunch of Browns fans. You're in the Browns the right Browns Twitter community, more in those circles. Like just from your perspective, what was that night like as a lifelong Browns fan and someone that was brought up that way and now has gotten to experience so many different iterations of Browns football?
Well, I'm going to bring you back to the last time we clinched going to the playoffs when we played Pittsburgh. And there was 9,000 fans.
Yeah.
I ended up sneaking my way all the way down the dog pound because obviously it wasn't full. And I was like, well, screw this. I'm going down there. So, and that was loud with 9,000 people to have that much excitement. So before this game, that's what got me so pumped, because when I've never heard it like that. Like I heard that stadium's been loud all year, but it was on fire that night. Oh, yeah. And it started when they brought out all the players and you heard them going nuts for all of them. And then they announced Myles Garrett, that place I thought if it had a roof, it would have been blown off.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they brought out Nick Chubb, that moment, those moments set the tone for those fans, and they didn't let up. And Phil, you're down below, and that there is a difference. You could feel the noise down below. It was not as much. Sure.
Oh, it was awesome, and I felt like those moments when they got the kid on the guitar and they turned the lights off. It was truly a amazing event because it was new. I think that was really new because that never happened in a night game before.
Right.
When they had everybody's phones synced up, it was like you were at a concert or something. It was awesome.
Yeah. And I tried to tune into the halftime thing, but I couldn't get my phone to link because they said you could tune in from your phone, but I don't know if you had to be at the stadium just to do that or they allowed you to do it through the app. But the sights, you could feel the energy coming through the television, through the radio. I don't know if the crowd mics picked up the sound as much as I think the stories after and what you guys are talking about right now, giving me more of the goosebumps than what I heard cutting the highlights. I knew that the crowd was loud, and you always know when announcers have to raise their voice because they have headphones on like we do. When they have to raise their voice because they're starting to not hear very well, you know that it's going. And you look at stadiums like in Seattle where crowd noise really impacts games. We always knew that this stadium and these fans could do that. It's just needed the product on the field to bring that out.
They had the decimal rating on there, and I think at one point, I want to say the highest I saw it was at 105, maybe 106 or something like that. And that's pretty loud.
Yeah, it definitely was loud. I just never felt the stadium like that. Phil, I've never been to a game outside of Cleveland, so I don't know what other cities are like, but that was unbelievable for me. So,
where was the toughest environment to play for you?
Because of the fans?
Because of the fans, or maybe just
the loudest, maybe
the loudest, or even the toughest. Just the toughest.
That was one of the loudest. That was probably the loudest NFL game I heard. even, playing or whatever, other than college football. Usually college football, the atmosphere was a lot better than NFL. But
and I've heard
that game was a
atmosphere.
college atmosphere game. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think one of my favorite things about games like that is just the walking back to your car, and you just got random people coming up screaming like, "We're going to playoffs!" and whatever.
It was awesome.
Everyone's best friends with each other.
It was like a mob of people leaving that thing.
Well, what I didn't like though was like the television. You don't have the sound of what people are saying, but it looked like the drones of fans leaving when the losses would mount up and things like that. More of the kind of the downtrodden fans leaving the stadium. Like that's what the walkout looked like. But I don't think, especially the national media picked it up, I don't think they realized like that's the only way you can get out of the stadium until someone finally connects downtown to the lakefront. Like there's only so many places you can get back to your cars and get out of that stadium.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes and no, but Kevin, most of the time, like even in wins, you'll see fans leaving early. I don't think barely anyone left.
Everybody stayed.
Oh yeah, and that
to the very end, and then it just like swamped all out at once, and it sucked. And then traffic wise, it was terrible.
Yeah, and the picture was painted that it was kind of the same walkout as every other game. But the point that people miss, what you were just saying, Jay, is when you do give those overhead views, when people are leaving early because the team is losing, or it's an early season game and people are trying to get off to other things that they're doing on a Sunday, you see pieces of the street still. Like you still see above, you see the gaps in the street, the gaps between the people that you don't see when you're walking in between them. Yeah. There was no street. There was no sidewalk. Like elbow to elbow.
Oh yeah. It was just a concert crowd moving in one thing like a glacier.
Like West Third, it was that West Third Street leaving going up.
Yeah,
it was packed. They said there was so many people right there. It showed up on the weather radar.
Did it really? Just like, well, at least people showed up on weather radar instead of bugs like we did over the summer.
Oh yeah, terrible.